Hi there, everybody. Welcome. Thanks so much for joining us here on the broadcast. We are coming to you live from Convene on 42nd Street for the NEDAS 2019 New York City Summit. And I was able to grab LaChance from ZenFi and bring you here into the studio. So thanks for taking a moment to talk with us.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. All right, so you just finished up a good panel a few minutes ago. Really good content, information, very specialized. Let's talk a little bit about where mobility is going, because we're not just adapting an old network. We are building something brand new. What is it going to take to get this done, I guess, is the really good way to start.
Great. So, I think it's a really interesting time in our industry. If you're in the wireless industry and you started years ago building towers and building macro sites, you have a really great perspective on this. We have, we're going into this 5G revolution, right? And I call it a revolution rather than an evolution because things are going to change dramatically. All of a sudden, the 5G network, over time will become the network that connects everything. The wires that provide capacity and low latency connections today will be replaced by wireless connectivity, and it will be 5G wireless connectivity, which will deliver very high capacity and very low latency. So to make all that happen, though, there's something that really transformative that has to happen in the underlying network infrastructure. The networks that have been built in the past were built to support what I call sparse networks, right? Mm-hmm. So you have a macro site every in New York Metro. They could be a half-mile apart, up to 5 miles apart, covering large areas. Well, as we move to this 5G environment where you have to get capacity close to the user, you need antennas literally everywhere, right? So you need them on every floor of every office building, from sub-basement to rooftop. You need them in every tunnel. You need them on every street corner.
Every manhole cover, every bus bench.
Everywhere you look, you'll see antennas. In fact, when you walk out of this building, there's 3 light poles, and there's 3 separate mobile operator antennas on those light poles. Now, there are hundreds of thousands of light poles in the city of New York. Well, if you look at all estimates, there will be 100,000 plus antennas out there supporting this evolution towards, or this revolution towards 5G. It's a quantum leap from where we are with 4G.
Absolutely. Even down to the device that's sitting in each of our pockets right now that's currently got 4 antennas, that's going to have to go to 16 antennas, and everywhere you put your hand on the outside of that device, you're going to be blocking an antenna somewhere. So the question becomes, how do we cooperatively start to realistically move the ball a little faster? Because there are a lot of naysayers out there, and the analysts, the press, they're all over this. Yeah, it's a great promise. How do we deliver on the promise? You go to an event like Mobile World Congress, and that's what you're going to hear over and over again. What is realistic? What are we making happen now?
Well, so there's layers to this problem. The fundamental problem that has to be solved is underlying infrastructure. I'm sure that the greatest minds in the world will solve the software problems and the hardware, the handset problems. But there's a fundamental layer of infrastructure that it can't be. Technology is not going to solve the problem, and that's creating locations for antennas. So I call it the space, and bringing power to those locations, and then bringing fiber optic connectivity or high-speed wireless connectivity to those antenna locations. That fundamental underlying infrastructure, the same fiber we put in, the same power we deploy, and the same antenna locations that we do for 3G and 4G are going to be replaced with 5G technology. So that fiber that goes in today will be in service 20, 30, 40 years from now. Mm-hmm. The problem is fiber's not in all the right places yet. Imagine if you walk around the city, you can imagine there's not fiber built to most of the light poles in the city, right? Which will eventually house antennas. So that underlying heavy lift is building that underlying infrastructure. That means conduit from manhole systems over to a light pole, for instance, to bring your fiber cable. You have to bring power to it that's on all the time. That's that feeds that device. And you have to find these sites. I mean, you have to have the locations for those antennas. That underlying infrastructure, we're in the pre-season right now. We haven't even started. It's not even the first inning yet. And we still have to build that infrastructure infrastructure, and it's hundreds of billions of spend just in this region to do this.
And that's not even bringing into account the municipalities, trying to deal with the local laws and rules and regulations, because what you do in place A, you can go 5 miles away, and in place B, they have an entirely different set of rules to adhere to, right?
That's absolutely true. And, I look at New York. New York certainly had been a leader in the mobile wireless space in the U.S. They came out with what they call the mobile telecom franchise in 2004. And what they did is, with the lobbying from the carriers, they determined that they had an asset here, and that's the light poles. They call them street poles. So the traffic signals, the light poles, the utility poles throughout the city could be wireless sites. So they created a franchise process that created a set of rules that were homogenized across all takers. Anybody who wanted to use these assets to install antennas would follow the set of rules. So they were really, the thought leaders when it came to utilizing those assets. Unfortunately, there weren't many takers early on. The first network builds, and we were involved in them, started in 2008 through, and on. And business providers like Metro PCS came to New York and put up, 1,000+ antennas on light poles, and Sprint did some early on. A company called Clearwire did it. So they created the set of rules. You go across the river to New Jersey, and you have Weehawken and Hoboken, Jersey City, Newark. They all have their own sets of rules, or they have no rules, right? Because it hasn't happened.
It's the Wild West.
It hasn't happened en masse there yet. So there's a real opportunity to build these networks, but there is certainly a lack of municipal understanding, right? Everybody's asking for the problem to be solved, but it still hasn't been solved. And so we operate our network, we have about 1,000 route mile network throughout the region, and we operate in hundreds of towns and municipalities in New Jersey. And just about all of them have adopted or yet to adopt sets of rules to do this that differ, right? So we have to go in front of city councils and get approval, and administrators within these cities to seek approval to do the same thing we've done in a jurisdiction right next door.
Sure.
But there's a different approach to doing it.
Yeah, you can't use it as a proof point necessarily. So that's how they do it next door.
Yeah.
What are you really excited about what ZenFi is creating right now and what you're working on right now?
So what's really exciting was that we've had an opportunity to be an innovator in this space. I think we've done some really cool stuff. We're a 5-year-old company. I still consider us a startup, because we're evolving and innovating. And we've developed some really unique approaches. We own this underlying fiber infrastructure. We own the rights to the poles that the mobile operators put their poles on, and we own network edge co-location facilities where the mobile operators can install their equipment to run this stuff. So we saw a need in the market for a new type of network that had to be built, and we call it the front haul network. That's part of the evolving mobile infrastructure, which is going from a distributed RAN model, where there are base stations on rooftops or towers, to this cloud model called Cloud RAN or C-RAN, where there's centralized command and control and then network edge processing, but RF processing happens out on the light poles, for instance, but the RF the baseband processing of that RF signal happens at central locations. So we began building this new front haul infrastructure or architecture that would run as a complementary architecture to the backhaul, and it completes that C-RAN, that whole C-RAN architectural model. And we got into that business with the sole purpose of focusing on mobile densification, and we've been quite successful in building out the region. We have nearly 6,000 sites under contract now, built 1,000 miles of network in a relatively short time.
Sure.
To serve this market.
Well, you clearly came about at exactly the right time. You saw the writing on the wall. It's pretty prescient. Last thing I want to talk about before we put the button on all this is NEDAS. Let's talk about this particular meeting. The people that are here in this room, the reason that you want to be a part of it, what again encourages you or gets you juiced up when you come to an event like this and get to be with people of this nature all together in the same room. Tell us about your experience, even today.
Sure. So one of the great things about NEDAS, well, first of all, we've been a participant in this organization since the beginning.
Yeah.
Even before we started ZenFi, we're very active with Alyssa and the NEDAS organization. What I like about this event, it's a regional event predominantly, and I attend national and international events regularly. I participate on panels and speaking and take speaking opportunities. But here I'm speaking to the regional teams that are my customers and my vendors. So when we get here, it's a place to collaborate and catch up and talk about the future. And it's really turned into a really great forum to I like being a local company that's pretty I believe we're fairly noteworthy in this market, and it's nice. I look at NEDAS as like our local conference that we can show off at.
It's really true. But you know what's so interesting is that year by year, I mean, 10 years into this, I'm always amazed at how many people are coming from very far away. People who are coming in from Texas, they're coming in from Colorado,
Sure.
People coming in from California, from Chicago, that it's caught on because not all of these areas have their own local ability to get the gang together in the way that Alyssa's been able to do it here. And I know that she relies on you very heavily, and you guys have a great relationship because of that. Give me, the last thing that I'll ask is give me like the one little bite of advice that we can tell the people who are watching who are not here at the meeting today, not necessarily even about NEDAS because they know why they need to come here. What is it that we need to do? What's at the top of list and should be top of mind for everybody right now? Job number one.
Well, first I'd characterize the opportunity. We're in the beginning stages of the opportunity of building the new network. So there's a great opportunity for all of us entrepreneurs to build new businesses, to support the evolving ecosystem, and clearly Verizon, T-Mobile, and AT&T, and now with the entrance of Dish into the new market. There's going to be opportunity for many years to come. So, all the participants here have massive opportunities for growing great businesses as part of this ecosystem. And coming to events like this is a great opportunity to collaborate and, work together to address the opportunities and create new opportunities.
Love it. Entrepreneurship. It's what builds everything when you get right down to it. Ray, thank you. Again, I know you've already had a busy day. You've had a lot going on and people pestering you from the outside as well, but very grateful that you came in to talk to us.
Thanks, Steve.
Thanks so much, Ray.
Okay.
Thanks again for watching. Thanks.